The data table below displays the total individual contributions over $1 million for politicians in 2020, as reported by the Federal Election Commission. If needed, we'll use this statistical tool and the data to answer these questions. So I've opened up my data, and I also have here my statistical tool on the right-hand side. It says, explain the advantages and disadvantages of displaying the data in a box plot versus a histogram in order to compare the contributions to each of the political parties. Well, let's go ahead and enter some of this data. So I see that I have 3 columns. And over here, let's go ahead and say we're going to build our own. We have, let's see, so we have several groups. So there's a tab here at the top. Now I'll move myself out of the way here. And we'll enter our own data. And we have 3 groups, so we can increase that there. Let's go ahead and label this Democrats. The next one, oh, sorry, that should say political party. And then the group labels, we'll put group 1 is Democrats. Group 2 is Republicans. And other. All right, so under Democrats, let's grab this data that we have here, copy that over, and then let's do the same, but for Republicans. We'll copy this data over, and then finally for other political parties, we'll copy that, paste over, and there's our box plot. So let's look at the box plot, and one of the things that I can see right away is that it really helps me see the range of the contributions. So let's write that down. So box plots allow us to quickly determine the range of the contributions. So for example, I can go here and see the maximum amount that was contributed to the Democratic Party. Oh, whoa, it was very far away. So that label is max 77. So I can see that. And then, for example, I can see the biggest value for other, which is 13.455. So let me take some notes about that. I notice that the range for the Democrats is, and then actually I should be able to see it too here on the table. So look at that. Max is 77.2, minimum was 1, so 76.2. Okay, but now the thing that I can't really see with this box plot is how many data is sitting inside of these little boxes, right? Look at how thick this box looks, but it doesn't tell me anything about the frequency. So the histogram should help me with that. Helps to see frequency. So let's look at that. I'm going to go into my tool, and instead of box plot, I'll do a histogram. So there it is. So for example, I can see now from this histogram that 166 people donated or contributed between 0 and $4.9 million. For example, for Democrats, I can see Democrats, we can see from the histogram that there were 166 contributors of 0 to $4.4 million, while for Republicans, let's see what I can see for Republicans, there was 54 that gave between 0.5 and 1.45, and then 39, and so on. So in total, we see there's 125 data points for Republicans, and notice that a majority of them lie below 4.49. So while for Republicans, there are many, maybe we can be a little bit more accurate. I'm going to pull up my calculator so I can figure out how many are in those boxes. So let's see. So here at the beginning, I had 54. So 54 plus, and then I can add the second box, 39 plus, and then what happens maybe in this next one, 13, And the very next one after that was 8. So in total, 114 contributors of 0 to, and then what was that value in that second box? 4.49 million. And then while for the other parties, look at this. Now I can see the frequency very well. In fact, there was only 5 contributors and one gave a ton of money. So between 10 and 14 million. So we have 4 contributors between contributors in the range 0 to 4 million. So those are 2 ways to compare the data and their benefits. So now for part B, it says which political party has the largest range in contributions. Well, we noticed that right away when we looked at the box plot that the largest range was coming from the Democrats. And we actually computed it in part A, and that was 76.2. Now let's look at this next part. It asks us to determine which political parties appear to have outliers in contributions over 1 million. Well, we look at our scatter plot and notice there's outliers in all of them. Over here, over here, over here. So certainly they all have outliers. Now let's look at part D, which asks us to describe and compare the distributions of contributions over 1 million for each political party. So let's go ahead and look at our histogram. Well, certainly they're all very skewed to the right. So notice all histograms show the data is skewed to the right. And in fact, it seems that the Democrats are the most skewed to the right. Oh, let me fix my misspelling there. And also that they all have some amount of outliers. It's a little bit hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom in here. But these little bars are there. They're very tiny, but look at how far away that is from most of the data. And then over here, where's our outlier? There's some outliers here at the beginning, and then there's an outlier here. And they each have outliers. Can't spell today. Oh, apparently that's still wrong. There we go. Thank you, internet, for fixing my misspellings. But also the other thing that I notice is that there's so much variation in this Democratic histogram. So we can also look at some of the information that's given in the descriptive statistics here. Look at this. So the average for Democrats is 4.42 million in contributions. For Republicans, that is 2.31. And for other, it is 4.01. So certainly the Republicans' average for these contributions is about half that of the Democrats. But notice that for the other political parties, they're pretty close to the average for the Democrats. The other thing to notice is just how incredibly big the standard deviation is for the Democrats versus that of the Republicans. So note the Democrat contributions have almost or have a four time greater standard deviation than the Republicans. So there's a lot more spread or variation in those contributions. While the standard deviation for the other political groups, is 5.3. So that's some information comparing these distributions of the contributions of over 1 million for each political party.